Hi and welcome. I am Zach DeWeer, the host of the Night Sports Show, and that is what you're listening to right now. I'm sorry for the delayed start, but the same content will go on as scheduled. So last week we talked a lot about the World Series as it was Game 5 of the World Series, and we all thought that the Dodgers were going to win, and I'm sure all of you know by now, the Dodgers did not actually win. The Houston Astros won in a thrilling Game 7. Or not a thrilling Game 7, I should say. Maybe a thrilling series. Game 7 was less than spectacular compared to the rest. So I just want to hear your thoughts on the World Series, guys. And there's another topic I want to talk about, and that's the Yuli Gurriel still made an impact on Game 5 after he didn't get suspended. I want to hear your thoughts on that. I want to hear your thoughts on the series. So if you have anything to say, go for it.
I'll start out and say, I'll start with your second question because it's the one that gets me most fired up. I remember watching Game 5, sitting on my couch, and as the Dodgers were up 4-1 and Gurriel hit that home run, I thought nothing but how embarrassing for the MLB that this guy can still have an impact after what he did. Astros ended up winning Game 5. Dodgers won 6. Astros won 7. You suspend Gurriel. Dodgers could have won 5. Dodgers won 6. So, for me, congrats to the Astros. They had 39 out of the 40 guys deserve it very much. Gurriel shouldn't be on the parade. He shouldn't be praised. And, frankly, 5 games next year, he should be suspended at least a quarter of the season, at least 40 games, because that was the most racist, scrape it down to bottom line, that was just, no matter what you want to say, that was the most racist thing possible. Sure, he didn't say something, sure, he didn't physically discriminate and attack somebody, but he made a gesture trying to put somebody else down after he had already hit a home run off of him. For me, World Series aside, that is just, there's no room for that whatsoever in the game of baseball. And if that were to happen in a workplace, what would happen?
Fired. Done.
So, that's essentially saying that I could go into my workplace tomorrow, mock a Chinese guy, and lose out on pay for what? A day? An hour? It's essentially what they're saying. 162-game season, 5 games. It's like missing a day of work. That means nothing to him. The guy just won the World Series. He's going to be partying 5 straight days. There is no consequence to his action other than 5 days of lost salary in a 162-game season. Back to the World Series. Yes, Game 5 was maybe less entertaining for...
You mean Game 7? Game 5 itself was one of the best World Series games in history.
Game 7 was nothing too special, but for a baseball lover, it wasn't that bad. The way that the managers managed the game, throwing Kershaw into the game in inning 3.
Morton got a 4-inning save.
Morton came in from inning 6 to 9. A lot of the best pitchers in the game actually did touch the ball in that game. So from an offensive point of view, action, it wasn't great, but managerial-wise, that was probably the most exciting game of the series for me.
I'm going to focus on the action on the field. I think Caleb already echoed all of our thoughts in his statement on Gurriel. But it was an incredible World Series. Arguably, in my opinion, that was one of the best World Series of all time. You had everything. You had amazing comebacks, high-scoring games, dominant pitchers at times. We saw Clayton Kershaw throw 4 innings on, 2 days rest? Amazing
the only one
ball.
I can think that was close as 2011.
Yeah, that was
Texas St. Louis.
But that was a great Game 6. This series had great games.
Exactly.
Last year had
this
a great
series,
Game 7.
It was so every game was entertaining. The entertainment factor was huge. I think it's great for baseball because that was a big thing that we heard in the media this year. Oh, baseball's getting boring. It's not appealing to the younger generation. And then you have a World Series like this that's back and forth, action packed. I think that's the best possible thing that could happen for baseball outside of Yuli Gurriel
in 2 big markets.
Yeah, exactly. Mark, you got any thoughts?
I just think what Gurriel did and the lack of judgment that the MLB had towards that action will have a very significant smear on the game of baseball in the MLB. Racism has no place anywhere you go.
Any sort of discrimination.
Exactly. It not in politics, not in sports, not in school. Nowhere does racism belong. Gurriel goes out, mocks Yu Darvish.
A complete minority.
And then he gets literally a slap on the wrist. Not even. Like a little feathering on the wrist. Like, hey, I'll slap your bum a little bit, and you can have your nap. You go have your paycheck, go home, come back for the next game, you're okay. No. Racism, a gesture like that deserves 20 games.
And what I think is worse is the reason behind it. They say the team can't be punished because of
Unbelievable.
Gurriel's
in
actions.
a team sport.
Which doesn't make any sense to me.
MLB teams have how many players on their team? 20?
If I
30?
say something racist right now, is it only me who gets punished, or is it all four because we're all talking? You can't just say that, yes, your actions are bad on you, yes. But they're also bad on every single person around you. If I were to make a racist comment right now, that just doesn't look bad on me. That looks bad on all of us. If somebody at Sobeys mocks you, one employee, that looks bad on all of Sobeys. So yeah, Gurriel doing that, I don't know why the MLB thinks that doesn't look bad on all the Astros. Yeah, all the other Astros didn't do that, but Darvish doesn't speak much English. He just came over here 5 years ago. What was he thinking to even think about doing that? Probably the biggest minority in the game would be Asian players. How many are there? Could probably name all of them right now. There's probably about 5. I don't know about talking about bullpens, but there's not many. And you just took a ginormous minority. That didn't make sense, but
it's an oxymoron.
An oxymoron there, but a huge minority, and just completely threw them under the bus. For me, sure, I understand MLB had to make a quick decision because the next game was coming up. They had to decide something quick, so they couldn't have that much time to decide. And 2, they had to understand that he was going to appeal the suspension. But that's where something needs to come into place where sentence, blah, 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 with no appeal. Blah, 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 with no appeal. Even just suspend him for 1 game of the World Series, that would have been way bigger than 5 games the next year. And what happens if the Astros' 2 first series are on the road? He gets to come home to the first home game of the year when the banner is raised. He'll get to soak it all in just because all he got was a 5-game slap on the wrist, which I don't know what the math is, but it's like 2% of the season.
It's peanuts.
It's peanuts. It's absolute peanuts. Forget about the money. That's just 5 days off, whatever. Doesn't mean anything. It just won't teach anybody anything if you do something like that.
Again, I 100% agree with Caleb's statements on the situation. I think I mentioned this last week, but you got to give Darvish props for the way that he handled this. The man took the higher road. He could have made it into a big deal, and he could have made this the focus of the series, but instead he turned it back towards baseball and said, yes, he made a mistake, but we just have to move on with our lives. And so I have to give Darvish props for that. I know if that was me, I don't know if I would have been able to have been so calm and collected about it. But Darvish clearly showed what kind of man he is in this situation.
And look who's to blame for the World Series.
Okay, you know what? No.
You, Darvish.
Okay.
And that's where all the memes are. They're all on who lost the World Series, and then it's his face, and it says you. And it's just
Okay, but someone's got to be the scapegoat, though,
somebody
for
does,
anything.
But Darvish could have turned around, going off Alex's point, he could have turned around and said, yeah, I may have messed up Game 7, but we win Game 5 if the MLB does the right thing. He hasn't done any of that. He's taken it head on like a man.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lesson that we can all learn. He's getting it. He got mocked, but because that happened in Game 5, he's getting the blunt of it now because he's the guy who screwed up Game 7. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Gurriel did get on base off of him in that either first or second inning.
He didn't go out of 2, I don't think. He
So
went 1.2.
he went 1 point.
Darvish had the opportunity to beat him. He didn't.
Did. And I still think he should have. I think that's just part of the game of baseball that It's just like remember when Pacioretty and the Chara and Pacioretty, and I if I'm not mistaken, the next game that Montreal played Boston, I don't know who it was, probably Andrew Shaw or one of those guys.
No,
Brendan
not
Gallagher.
Andrew Shaw.
Somebody fought Chara, not because they're trying to kill Chara, just because that's just part of the game. That's what you do. Your big
You're
guy
thinking of
gets
George
hurt.
Peros.
Maybe it was Peros, yeah. It probably was Peros. He went out and he fought Chara just to make a point. He didn't want to kill him. That's just part of the game, right? Yeah. And so I could be mistaken on that. I don't know if he did. I'm pretty sure he did. But again, with Darvish, that's just part of the game. You send your message that you don't want to be walked on. Darvish wouldn't have thrown at his head. He doesn't want to kill the guy. He's just saying, what you did was wrong. Smarten up. I've gotten over it. I'm sure you've gotten over it. And let's move on, right? And, Gurriel hasn't had any comments since. I haven't heard anything from him. He said, sorry, and then Darvish said his thing. I haven't heard anything since. He hasn't done anything to... Gave a tip of the cap before his at bat, but anyone could do that. So.
But then you said that Darvish blew Game 7, so that immediately raises the point, well, who should have started that game? Kershaw?
I say Kershaw, 100%. Yeah. I don't think the Dodgers couldn't know. I don't think what they did was wrong. It's easy for us to say, oh, yeah, they screwed it up. Kershaw should have started. But what happens if Darvish pitches 8 complete scoreless innings?
We have to remember, Darvish is an amazing pitcher in his own right. This is a guy who's been an all-star multiple times throughout his career. It just wasn't his night that night. And how are the Dodgers know that Kershaw will be even capable of coming in and throwing 4 scoreless innings on such short rest?
And what if he started the first inning? Maybe he would have done the same.
Exactly.
As
I don't think this is Darvish's fault at all. Sure. Sure.
Yeah, it's not Darvish's. It's not Darvish's fault, because what if Kershaw pitches an inning and a third or whatever, gives up 4, and Darvish comes in for 4 innings, and everyone says, "Why didn't we start Darvish?" It's easy for us to micromanage after the game's finished.
Exactly.
If we could do that, we'd all be millionaires off fantasy hockey.
I think we got props to the Astros. They played an amazing game. They came out to hit. Their pitchers pitched phenomenally. They're a good team.
I don't think the Dodgers lost the World Series. I think the Astros won the World Series.
One great team beat another great team.
Exactly, and
that's what it comes down to.
I think with the Texas Rangers in 2011, you could say that they lost themselves the World Series, because there were so many times where they were one strike away. I was the biggest fan in the world. I remember it vividly. So many times, one strike away, one pitch away, one out away, and they completely blew it. And I think in that situation, sure, David Freese was great, but they lost themselves the World Series. This year, the Astros strictly just won themselves the World Series. The Dodgers played a great, sure, a bad inning in the first inning of Game 7, but otherwise, they were phenomenal.
If you were to play that game 49 more times, who's to say the Dodgers don't win it 25, 30 of those 49 more times? But on this night, the Astros were clearly just a better team.
Who knows if we go back to 1970 or 60 or whatever, whenever it was 9-game series, how it used to be. Exactly. 9-game series, and I'm sure the Dodgers could have came back. I would have taken my bets on the Dodgers, because they wouldn't have thrown Kershaw in that game. They would have thrown Kershaw in Game 8, and then Game 9. It's really up to anyone, right? You throw Kershaw Game 8, you throw anyone Game 9, and then it's just
exactly.
Game 9 could have been a Morton Hill type.
If I were to go back, I would have put my money on the Dodgers to win it again. That's just how close these teams were in terms of skill level. There was not much there to separate the two. And
I'm glad the Astros won, but the Astros are going to be good for a long time. The Dodgers are good, but I don't know with I'm always scared of the Nationals. The Cubs, you could say, had an off year with how well they did, because they're just that good.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, though. They were supposed to win this year, not last year.
Who?
The Cubs.
Yeah, But then Diamondbacks are up and coming. Rockies, I wouldn't take easily. There's a lot of teams that are coming up.
When you have Rich Hill and Kershaw, you're going to do pretty well.
Darvish, Kenley Jansen.
No, Darvish will not come back, though. No, I don't think he's not coming back. There's no way.
The thing about Darvish is he's going to want to. You got to think about him as a person too. He's going to want to be in a big market because he's a minority. He's not going to want to go to somewhere like Kansas City or Miami.
Exactly.
He's going to want a big market like New York, LA, somewhere he can fit in, right?
The Dodgers are always going to have money like at their disposal. That's not a question with that team.
I wouldn't count the Dodgers out, but I really have no clue where Darvish would go. I don't know him personally.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We will be back with some hockey talk. We're going to talk a little bit about the Leafs and a few other Canadian teams. We will be right back. Here is Alan Rayman and 13. Welcome back. I am Zach DeWeird, and you are listening to The Night Sports Show. We just talked a little bit about baseball, and now we're going to focus more onto hockey, the more in-season sport right now. So I want to talk a little bit about the Leafs, who started out to a scorching start, about 6-1, and now they have gone 1-6. Is it time to kind of consider what's going on at the Leafs? Obviously, it's not time to panic, but what is going on with the Leafs?
I honestly think they're just having growing pains on trying to figure out what their team's identity right now is. When you have one line that consistently puts out in the AM34 line, it's difficult to see where you go from there. Their team has notoriously been bad at defense for the past 20 years, past 10 years. I'm not concerned right now, only due to the fact that Freddie Anderson is the type of goalie that normally needs about a month or so to get his feet under him again. I'm more concerned with the defense right now. Like Nazem Kadri is a mess when he's playing defense. Tyler Bozak is a mess when he's playing defense. JVR is a ghost when he's playing defense. It's great that they're top 5 in the faceoffs, but the fact of the matter is they're top 5 in goals against. That's definitely a stat that I want them to change. Their special teams are definitely something I want them to work on. Am I concerned about the team? Not really. I'm more disappointed. I just wish that they have figured out their problems by now. You know, the younger players tend to learn the fastest. But that said, the vets are the guys that don't always bring it night after night, and it's difficult to watch sometimes. You know, I don't know. I think they'll be okay, only because when you have Nazem Kadri on your third line, you're gonna win some games. I just think that they need to get out of this funk. I really think that they're in a funk. They're not this bad of a team. So.
You highlighted a lot of defensive issues, and obviously this team has it. But one guy that I've been really impressed with defensively this year has been Austin Matthews. Like, we knew the guy could score, and we knew he was an incredible offensive player, but his defensive game has really shone through this year.
And I'm going to back that up right now. I was looking at his Corsi stats today. His defensive zone starts are more than his offensive zone starts. His face-offs percentage is at 51%.
Exactly. And the way he breaks up plays, he doesn't panic with the puck in a tight situation in his own end. It's really a joy to watch that guy night in, night out. But am I disappointed in them? Yeah, a little bit. Obviously, we all know that they're better than this. They're a good hockey team. They're just going through a rough stretch right now. I didn't catch the game on Saturday, but one other thing that's been encouraging to me has been Mitch Marner looks a lot better of late. He's been flying. He's working the edges like he can. The puck just hasn't been going in the net for him. But a player with that kind of talent.
Because he's playing with Matt Martin. So
exactly.
He's not going to get... Matt Martin got 3 points.
He has 3 points.
Don't be blaming this on Matt Martin.
No.
Matt Martin
Don't want to start last week's debate all over again.
I'm not blaming this on Matt Martin, okay? I'm just saying that, like, Mitch Marner scored 18 goals last season. He's not a goal scorer. You know, and when teams figure out that he's a pass-first guy, they're going to be blocking off the pass lanes because his wrist shot is not strong enough for the NHL. It's good on breakaways because he's got hands, but like when he's going through traffic, weaving in and out of defenders, his wrist shot's simply not good enough.
Well, I think everyone kind of thought he was just this massive goal scorer because he never really got to play with Matthews. Everyone thought Matthews the goal scorer of line 1, Marner will be the goal scorer for line 2. Whereas, would it really be that bad to put Marner on that Matthews line? I love the fact that I think that Matthews line is doing really, really, really well. Like, I am a massive fan of that line. I think that line is absolutely sweet.
Well, you know why, though? It's because they know their roles. They know what to do with the puck, and they have team chemistry. Zach Hyman is the digger. William Nylander is the playmaker, and Austin Matthews is the sniper.
Yeah, and it really does work perfectly. But what would you do if you put Marner on that first line? Do you think Nylander could put up production on line 2? Like, for me, it's not so much about the lines. Those things will work out. I think Babcock knows a lot more about what he's doing with lines than a couple of guys in second year university. For me, in this, what'd you say, 1-6? They've never scored less than 2 goals, which doesn't sound that great, but out of 7 games, they've never been shut out, and they've never been only stuck to 1. They've always, and in those 7 games, only 2 of those games did they score 2. The other 5, they were all 3+. So I'm not so worried about the offense. The offense is clicking. The offense is doing really well, probably above average. I think it's just the goals, and some guys are like that, like Anderson. You look at Henrik Lundqvist. He takes a month to kind of get his feet under him. And, switching sports, you always saw that with Bautista and Encarnacion. Some guys just take a month to kind of get going.
Yep.
And we know Anderson's a great goalie. He's proven in that 7-game series against the Caps, most of the season last year. We know he's a good goalie. And the defense really is not, playing awfully right now. So I think they've had a couple bad games. They were on a long road trip in the West Coast. With a really, really young team like that, I don't think it's surprising when you drop a couple games in Anaheim, LA, St. Louis. Like,
it's a valley of death. Basically,
that's a road trip that every single
team struggles with.
Eastern team dreads.
Yeah.
And every team goes through it. You'll see, like, at Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, Boston, they'll all go on this.
Well, you know why they struggle with those
trip
teams,
of death.
though? Like, the Eastern Conference teams, they are built so much differently than the Western Conference teams. Western Conference teams are more heavy. They're much more physical. The Eastern Conference teams are more wide open.
You look at these matchups. Like, let's take LA for example. On the blue line, you've got guys like Doughty, Muzzin. Muzzin's one of the most underrated players in the league.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But then on offense, like, you're matching up. Their goal scorers are
Jeff Carter.
Think about
Tyler Toffoli.
He's out right now, but think about Toffoli, Pearson, Kopitar, Dustin Brown.
Kempe.
These are big guys that score goals against. Think about the guys for the Leafs. It's the Marners, the Nylanders, the Hymans. These guys are all.
They're going to beat you with speed, not physicality.
Exactly. So on these long road trips, guys are going to get beat up. Guys are going to get tired. There's a 3-hour time change. There's the flight's 5 hours. Like, you got to think about these other factors. I don't. If we just dropped 5 or 6 out of 7 to Montreal, Ottawa, Boston, Washington,
I'd be disappointed.
Whatever.
Very disappointed.
It's completely different story. I don't think that getting this down on them, a lot of goals were scored for us, a lot of goals were scored against us.
Yeah.
And once I don't think the offense is the issue. It's just the Leafs have to find a way to, 1, limit the goals scored on them.
You just need to tighten up. That's what it is.
Tighten up the defense. And 2, it's just these road trips are just going to, take time to get used to, take time to, figure out how they can win against these big Western Conference teams. And when these teams come to Toronto, they'll be dealing with the same thing.
Well,
the Kings will be coming and playing Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa all within a week. And that's where the Leafs, they have to capitalize on that. They have to know, we went to their place, tough couple of days. Now they're coming here, and we got to strike them right back. And, these are teams that if they do so well and go to the finals, these are the teams they're going to see.
Yeah, yes.
The LA Kings, the Anaheim Ducks.
The one thing that I'd say...
St. Louis Blues.
Yeah. I got 2 things about the Leafs, though. The one thing that I'd say is the most frustrating to watch is they fall asleep in the second period, and all of a sudden, now that they're down 5-0, it's time to score now. Let's get 3 goals.
Yeah.
I think that's something that will come with experience, though.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And I think Babcock's the perfect coach for this team. Best coach in the world. We've seen how hard he can be on these guys. He's going to train them. I'm not worried about that.
I would definitely prove that point as to say when Team Canada played the U.S. in the Olympics. Granted, it's Team Canada, but it's also the U.S. team, okay? It was in the 2010 Sochi Olympics. Canada scored a goal in the second period, early in the second period. For the rest of the game, they just shut it down.
Yeah.
They didn't score another goal. They didn't allow another goal. They shut the whole game down.
The dynamics of that Team Canada, that team was built on defense. That was one of arguably the best defensive teams that's ever been assembled.
Subban.
Yeah, exactly. The Leafs aren't arguably one of the best defensive teams that ever been assembled. So I think Babcock's working with a much different build here. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
And Mark, you make a real interesting point there, because think about it. Teams they get this lead, and what was it with St. Louis yesterday? Was it 6-1 or something going into the third?
Yeah, 6-1. Yep.
What do you think St. Louis's plan going into the third is? Kind of just, shut it down. We've got Pietrangelo. We've got Edmondson. We've got Parayko. We've got Bouwmeester. We've got St. Louis with one of the best defensive cores. I'm sure that St. Louis was trying to kind of just lock it down. And the Leafs still got 3 on them.
Yeah, 4. They got 4.
So what's that saying about, with the third period with the team who obviously, I don't think the Blues were pushing too hard in the third. I didn't catch the whole game. But I don't think that
they were not pushing hard at all.
Like that would be a perfect example of a team that kind of just sits back on the lead. Let's take this third period, easy. We've got a big lead. Let's just kind of lock it down. And the Leafs still managed to score 4 goals total, 3 goals in that third period. So again, that's a great point in the sense that the Leafs offense is scary. And it's an offense that can score on these big Pietrangelo, Parayko, Edmondson, these big teams. They can do it. It's about, not having, and we saw that a lot. I think Washington, with the series last year, there were a couple times where Washington just got goals in bunches, and it was just over.
Yeah.
3-0 in the first, it's just over. The Leafs somehow have to just get rid of that little fart that happens for X amount of minutes or whatever period, and just flatten that out. And then they're a scary team. It's just they're having that little scary. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it happens. It's just they shut down for 5 or 10 minutes in the first or second, and then they're like, "Oh, we got to get this game back." And by then, against the Blues, play 4 periods. I'm sure they would have tied it.
Yeah.
The way they were playing in that third period, I'm sure they would have tied it. But it's not a 4-period game. So for them, they gotta figure out how to not allow that just brain fart to happen.
The one thing I am looking forward to is that I'm happy that this road trip was now this early in the season, just so they could really learn to figure out the defensive farts of the game. It's a long season. It's a physical grind. It's 82 games and it ends in April. I'm happy that they had this road trip now, rather than in February or March when those points really matter. And they get the crap kicked out of them, and then all of a sudden they're not making the playoffs anymore. The team will be better for this. I guarantee it, because when you Morgan Riley has played very well this year. He's had his brain farts. Obviously, he's an offensive defenseman. Jake Gardiner has more than once screwed up a lot. Ron Hainsey's been very solid. Andreas Borgman has been very good. He's basically a modernized version of Roman Polak in a way. Connor Carrick, honestly, he's been okay.
The thing with Carrick is that he's not a defensive defenseman. He's supposed to be an offensive defenseman, but he hasn't been that, and that's my issue with him right now.
7 points last season.
And one thing that if Arizona's struggles continue, I know they just traded for him, but I wonder if the Leafs will almost look into making a deal for someone like Nick Halmerson, who is a defensive defenseman, one of the best in the league. I haven't seen him much this year, so I can't comment on his play at the moment, but I know that he's a guy that could really come in and help fix their defensive struggles. He's a guy that blocks shots, gets in the corners, goes hard. I think he'd be great with a guy like Gardiner, who's more of an offensive guy. He could really keep it steady back there and make sure that, when Gardiner makes a bad giveaway, they have a guy back.
Okay, well then I would definitely say that I'm looking forward to the Leafs prospect development as well. They have several pieces in the system currently developing, like Andrew Nielsen, Travis Dermott, Timothy Liljegren. I'm very curious to see what management does with those pieces, because Andrew Nielsen seems to be a Dion Phaneuf type player. Travis Dermott seems to be some poor man's Drew Doughty in the way that he's not the biggest guy on the ice, but he's going to be able to do everything for you. Timothy Liljegren is going to be a very, very poor man's Erik Karlsson. If he's even a half version of Erik Karlsson, I'll be thrilled.
We're laughing.
Yeah, we're laughing.
I think that's the thing a lot of people forget about is the Leafs have so much young talent at the NHL level, but their prospect pool is still so deep. Like, this is a team that realistically could sustain success for years on end with the amount of depth they have in the minor leagues. Like, you have guys, Adam Brooks, like that are barely cracking the Marlies because that team's just so good.
We're kind of looking like the NHL Cubs were about 2 or 3 years ago, with these guys just breaking out and other guys still, in their system ready to go. As Alex said, one more veteran defenseman I don't think would hurt. I'm happy with the offense. I think there's enough there. I think with the offense, I know Alex and I argued, but like Matt Martin, I don't know. I really do think that my thought's gone because Mark's distracted.
We have some breaking news here on the Night Sports Show.
We
got some breaking news.
Duchene just left the ice.
Center.
I believe we're the first ones to actually break this story.
Yeah,
So good try Elliot Friedman and Bob McKenzie.
Bob McKenzie's not laughing anymore.
But Matt Duchene has left the ice in New York, so
could be because he had to take a poop.
Unlikely.
Also could be
We're not
because
gonna
he just got
speculate.
traded. Do we want to take bets on who it is? Because we'll probably find out by the end of the show.
anyone but Ottawa,
We
please.
can't do that. That's 28 teams.
Okay, wait. What were the 3 teams listed, Mark? It was Ottawa,
Nashville and Colorado.
Colorado.
Colorado has Duchene.
Yeah.
So Ottawa and Nashville are the teams in that deal that almost happened last night. Did you guys hear about that?
I did not
I
hear
kind
about
of feel
that.
like it'd be Ottawa.
I hope it's Nashville. That would be a scary team if they could add one more good
So
center.
last time it was Duchene was going to Ottawa. Turris from Ottawa is coming to Nashville.
Oh.
And Nashville was giving up one of their top prospects back to Colorado, and a draft pick or two.
Huh.
I've never understood those three-way deals. Why
That's an interesting concept.
Turris?
I don't know why Nashville wouldn't rather
Why-
just take Duchene.
Wait, so Turris went to Nashville?
Turris and somebody else would go to Nashville. It wouldn't just be Turris, but Turris would be the main part of
And then
that
Duchene
deal.
would go to Ottawa.
And then Duchene would go to Ottawa. And then
That's a great deal for Ottawa.
Yeah.
And then Colorado would gain something from Nashville.
Huh.
That doesn't
I don't know
seem
why
that
Nashville
smart
isn't just going to
for-
take Duchene for the
Yeah, no,
prospect
that doesn't
straight
make
up,
sense.
but
I'm hoping that he goes to Nashville for the Leafs' sake, because Ottawa would be looking a little bit more scary.
But-
having that locked down first line center.
I also don't really get that for Ottawa. Like, yeah, Duchene is a little bit
I
better,
completely
but
get it.
it's kind.
You
I
gotta
don't know. I
match
think
the Leafs'
Turris is
speed.
pretty underrated these days, and it's kind of a
Kyle
lot.
Turris for Duchene. That's,
Man,
that's
Turris
a
is
joke.
Turris is a 60-point center. Duchene had 44 points last year.
On
On
Colorado.
Colorado.
Yeah, okay, but
That's almost as many points as
and
they
look
have
at
the
his
whole
Okay, but
line
season.
Ottawa's
mates.
not the most
no, no.
defensive team in the world.
Okay, but then you look at Calvin Picard, the goalie
Okay,
that
why
the
are we
Leafs
talking about
picked up.
Calvin Picard?
No.
Calvin Picard is as irrelevant
Here's what it is. Okay.
as a sack of potatoes.
No, but people were
in
complaining
Easter.
about the Leafs picking up Calvin Picard. He was a starting goalie in the second half of the Avalanche, and he posted below 3.0 goals against average and above a 900. Some players, it's just the circumstances that you're on. You know.
Okay, so
It's-
good for Picard, but I'm just
I don't
saying.
know. Duchene was on a bad team.
Duchene to Ottawa, I really don't think. Alex is saying that doesn't make sense. That makes complete sense.
The other thing that you have to-
Wait. You're complete. You have to match Toronto's speed with the team that they are now, and you're looking at Montreal. They're trying to get quicker. They're getting Duchene. They've got guys like Galchenyuk and Gallagher spread out on all lines to add speed to their team. It's Kyle Turris. Sure, he's quick, but Duchene is one of those guys who is known for his speed. And I don't know if they're doing this strictly for Toronto. I doubt it. But they're trying to become a quicker. They're trying to become a quicker team.
Mark has confirmed from Elliot Friedman that Elliot is waiting for
How many minutes ago did
finalize the
Elliot
full
say
trade,
it?
but Colorado has dealt Matt Duchene as of 5 minutes ago.
Okay, you beat us.
And
We're not going viral.
I had a point, but I can't. Oh yeah, you mentioned Montreal. I'm really surprised Montreal wasn't in on this. Like, Duchene's the kind of guy that
I think it'd be perfect.
desperately need a first line center.
He'd be absolutely perfect.
Who was their number one center? Like Derek?
Plaquette. Or it's Desjardins.
No, it's Duchene, but
Oh,
I mean,
okay,
really,
they got Duchene.
like he'd be much better on the wing.
But-
Wait, is Duchene going to Montreal now?
No, what we're saying.
No, we're saying that'd be a good fit.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Drouin is not a natural center,
No,
is
he's
he?
not. He's a natural winger.
So they've got him on the left. He's a left winger that they've stuck in the center to hope for the best, but really that's still not a number one center. You've got a number one winger.
You're
in the
playing
center.
at center. He's not a
I
center.
imagine his face-off percentage is under 45%. He's
But
probably
they don't
not-
want him
probably
on left wing because
mocked in
he's not going to beat Max Pacioretty out on left
Well,
wing.
then was Drouin really that good a fit for Montreal?
I didn't think so. And then look at
Waves,
Sergachev.
yeah,
He's doing very
Sergachev's
well
been
in Tampa
amazing.
Bay.
Sergachev has been doing very well. In the same sense, like Mark just said, circumstances. Would he have really done that well under the shadow
Montreal.
of
Shea
Shea
Weber?
Weber?
Yeah. But Victor Hedman's no joke in Tampa Bay either.
That's true, and that's where that's one of those things where I guess you just say you just don't know. Tampa Bay, Drouin just wasn't working.
Yeah.
Montreal, he's French, is he not? He's from Quebec.
His name is
Yeah,
French.
Duchene is a French Canadian.
So it couldn't have hurt. I see it from Montreal's point of view. I just, like Alex said, I don't know why Montreal wasn't a bigger contender for Duchene. I can't see it. Imagine a first line, you stick Drouin on the right wing, and you got Patches, Duchene, Drouin. That's scary. I don't want to face that
That'd
line.
be pretty impressive.
And that'd be
you got guys like Gallagher and Galchenyuk
exactly
too.
filling out the second with Plekanec. Galchenyuk, Gallagher, Plekanec on your second. Desjardins your third line center. That's not a bad looking team then.
Andrew Shaw.
Andrew Shaw, and then you've got Weber as your number one guy on defense, and you've got number one Carey Price.
Who's not Carey Price right
Who's
now.
not Carey Price, but that's because they don't have Duchene.
Yeah. But Carey Price will be Carey Price. We're expecting soon. Like Anderson will be Anderson soon. Lundqvist will be Lundqvist soon.
We'd hope so.
Hope so.
Again, it's Carey Price has never been the guy to struggle in the first month. Last year they went 10-1-1.
Yeah, they were unreal.
Got off to
11-1.
a fire start. I think
Montreal's
that was
always
2
been
years ago.
Montreal has always been a team that has just flew out of the gate. So for me, if I'm a Montreal fan, it's scary. It's scary to see that Price isn't doing so
I
hot
just
in the first
don't
month.
think Montreal's a good team. They're not a great hockey team. But, I mean, they've been good for a while. It's Toronto's turn. The scary thing with Montreal is that Carey Price contract doesn't kick in till next year, where they're paying him.
See, I don't think that's that scary.
They're paying it. They're going to be paying
him
at
10
30
million
yeah,
when he's 39 years old.
exactly, and they're a team that they're never going to be able to do what the Leafs
But look
did and
at
get a
Patrick
first
Roy.
overall pick.
He was good until he was like 41.
The team has no offense, and they need a franchise-changing offensive player, and they're not going to be able to get that in the draft because Price isn't going to let them stoop that low in the standings. So they're just going to be stuck in
What do you mean?
mediocrity.
Price doesn't have a say in that.
No, because Price is so good that they're never going to be able to bottom out like the Leafs did because they have Price. But they're also never going to be a playoff contender because they don't have the pieces around Price.
See, I disagree. You're going against yourself because you're
Not
saying they have
really.
him for so long, but then you're saying they don't have enough time to bottom out. So that doesn't
Because
make
they
sense.
can't bottom out with Price, but
Why? They have him for the next 10 years, 12
because
years.
he's too good. Price is too good a goalie to have his team finish last. Mark, you understand what I'm
that doesn't
saying?
make much sense. You just said if they have him for 12 years, why not have a bad 3 years for the next 3?
Because they can't be bad with Price.
Why?
Because he's too good. It's not like they have Jonathan Bernier in
Okay,
there.
well then you could say that about any team.
No, because when the
team's
Leafs
got
had
a superstar.
no, when the Leafs had Jonathan Bernier, he was letting in pucks left and right.
Right, but what's the trade saying, Mark?
No, it just said Matt Duchene's bags are literally outside the Avalanche's
He did not
travel
waste
room.
time.
So they
He
want
wants
him out of there.
He wants out.
Everybody wants him out.
But if I'm Montreal, you can completely bottom out. Who cares?
I know, it's tough.
Carey Price is not the best thing since sliced bread.
No, but he's
I
the
would prefer
best
sliced bread
goalie in the
every day over
league.
Carey Price. It doesn't matter.
Kinda-
Look at the Kings. They had
It was
a really
it's a
off year
lot
last
easier
year.
to bottom out with Jonathan Bernier than with Carey Price.
It's not about easiness. It's about what's best for the team. And Montreal's never been that team. They're too prideful to want to bottom out and be
Exactly, but
the
they're
bottom
not.
feed.
They're also too not talented to make the playoffs.
What's the draft looking like this year? Absolute junk. There's
Rasmus
nobody looking
Dahlin
that
looks
good.
pretty good.
There's a number one guy who's expected to be pretty close to Erik
Erik
Karlsson.
Karlsson, yeah.
Okay, I was wrong then. Why not finish last for the Montreal
Andre
Canadiens?
Schve-
Why not
There's
finish
another
last?
guy. There's another guy who
All right,
plays
we're
for
going
the
into
Barrie
a draft
Colts.
central here.
Andre Svechnikov, 6'3", 215-pound Russian winger. He's going to be pretty good.
He's going to be OV.
That's good for Schneischer, or whatever you just said. But the Montreal needs a guy, not like Schneischer. They need a first-line center. Just a
Montreal needs
lockdown
a lot of
first-line
things.
center.
Like Matt Duchene.
They also could use some depth on defense and some speed back there.
Well, I'm still confused as to why they gave up Nathan Beaulieu. Still confused by that because I don't know why, but I am a massive Nathan Beaulieu fan because he's just one of those guys who just kind of does everything right. And good things happen when he's on the ice. And Buffalo just got him for peanuts. What the heck was Montreal thinking?
I think another thing that they did wrong was let Andrei Markov just completely walk.
Oh, Markov! I don't care about Markov. He's like 37.
And he was the best offensive defenseman they had by far.
Oh, that's just sad.
Yes. You guys think about it. Who else? What other? Shea Weber. What other puck moving guys do they have? Who else can
Nathan Beaulieu.
They don't have him anymore.
Well, yeah, because I just said they traded him.
They have two big mistakes.
Stupid.
They have Mikhail Sergachev. Wait a second.
3 guys right there where Montreal just completely... Sergachev, Nathan Beaulieu, Markov. All gone.
Subban, Beaulieu, Sergachev.
Think about those 4 guys. The most offensive...
Bergevin doesn't like offensive defensemen. No, he just doesn't like good defensemen.
He doesn't like a good team, apparently.
Yeah, he doesn't like it. He's got Drouin.
It's hard when you're trying to build a team.
He's got Galchenyuk on the 4th line.
Pacioretty, Drouin, Weber, and Price. Those are their pieces. So if you're Montreal and you're looking for a package deal to try and fix this, who do you give up first? Price, Weber? I wouldn't give up Drouin, and I wouldn't give up Pacioretty. So do you give up Weber or Price?
I don't know if they could find someone to take Weber. I think that would be a good move for them. Like I think we can all admit they lost the PK Subban trade, but if they can find someone to take on Weber and his massive contract and his slowly declining play.
Okay, Montreal rings. You're the general manager of the Leafs, and Montreal rings you tomorrow, and they say that we will give you Shea Weber for Morgan Riley.
Nope.
And a 2nd-round pick.
I don't think the Leafs have enough cap space to do that.
Okay, what about Zach Hyman and Riley? Connor Brown and Riley for Shea Weber.
I don't think I do it.
You just said that we need a defensive
We do,
defenseman.
but not Shea. I'm going to go back to Shea Weber's contract is ridiculous, and it's not. It just keeps getting worse from here on out.
How much is Riley signed for?
It doesn't matter because in 2 years, I think it's like 4.5, 5
How much is Brown signed for? 2?
2.5, I believe.
So there's Weber's contract.
No, Weber makes like 10 mil, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't make 10. He makes 8 or 9. So
okay,
you basically equaled out the contracts. Why wouldn't you do that then? Riley and Brown for Weber.
Because Weber is on the decline of his career. Weber's not getting better. Riley and Brown both are.
But Halmerson's getting better?
Yeah, Halmerson's, was he 27?
Oh, okay. You can't say that Halmerson is on the up of his career.
Well, he's not on the down like Weber is.
Okay, so Elliot Friedman just tweeted out, the trade is official. Now we have to find all the pieces. Duchene to Ottawa, Turris to Nashville.
Wow.
I told you guys.
Word is not out yet if it is a 1-for-1 trade.
Ottawa won that deal. If it's that straight up, 100%. Ottawa will benefit massively from that.
But what is Nashville sending out? That's my only question.
Young prospects and draft picks are
if
Matthias Ekholm.
Colorado better have got some prospects, or I am just sorry for them. If they didn't get any prospects from Duchene, that would be the saddest thing, and Colorado would just be in a... How bad do you feel for Landeskog? Nathan McKinnon, if he had just gone to... Think about Toronto. His career would be...
PK Subban.
And this, I'm not going to get into the Jeter thing again, but that just shows why it matters where you get drafted. Derek Jeter, as my dad always says, you put him in a Pirates uniform, Derek Jeter would have not been great. Nathan McKinnon, you stick him in a Colorado Avalanche, the guy could have been one of the best. He could have been one of the best because he has everything to be that guy. And he went to Colorado.
Do you think if Matthews went to Colorado, he wouldn't be the player he is today?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because when Matthews came to Toronto was terrible.
He played with he played from Hyman with he played with Marner and Hyman.
About
that's not that bad. It doesn't matter about the team.
Here's a player for you, Pavel Datsyuk. What if he's drafted by St. Louis Blues? Is he still the same?
Are you saying that the Blues were better than Detroit or worse?
I'm just saying that.
You have to think
there's a story behind him getting drafted.
Do you know who Datsyuk played with like his whole life?
Zetterberg.
Could you have better line mates? Datsyuk
He
goes
could have
to
played
Arizona.
with Keith Tkachuk.
Goes to Arizona. Is he that good?
The talent
Actually, funny story. He's on Arizona right now.
Okay, well, he is on Arizona, kind of. But you stick him on Arizona. Is he that good? It's for me, Duchene will be one of the elites now because Ottawa, honestly, is a perfect fit for him.
It's like he was playing with Landeskog before. It's not like he was playing with peanuts on his line. Like
Landeskog.
You were just saying how you felt bad for Landeskog and McKinnon. Now you're saying that Duchene had it
I feel
rough.
bad
He was
for
playing with him?
Landeskog because he's a good player, but he's not an offensive player to play with a guy like Duchene.
Landeskog's a pretty offensive guy.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
So who is Duchene going to be playing with?
Mike Hoffman, I guess.
Mike Hoffman.
And Bobby Ryan on
Maybe
the right.
Bobby Ryan. I thought Bobby Ryan was the center.
Ryan Dzingel. He's going to be playing with Matt Borecki and Ryan Dzingel.
What about Peugeot? Can Peugeot fill
Zach
in
Smith?
that right wing line?
I think they're actually going to put him on the fourth line and turn him into a grinder.
Matt Duchene.
Oh, imagine a 2-on-1. Matt Duchene and Erik Karlsson flying down the ice.
Think about their
That'd be fun to
3-on-3.
watch.
Hoffman, Duchene, Karlsson.
They're going to win some games.
Remember that video of the Kings not knowing who to cover Karlsson? Now it's who covers Duchene, who covers Karlsson, who covers Hoffman, and shootout. That's
Okay, so
unbelievable, too.
I
Ottawa
have
is looking scary.
I have one point about this trade though that I'm very interested about is that Matt Duchene has a $6 million contract for 2 more years.
Not scary.
It's $6 million.
That's not
and
bad.
Ottawa's a budget team.
That's not bad.
It's not even that bad either.
41 points for a 41 points for a $6 million player.
Okay, I'm saying this right now. We can
Alex.
make a bet on the air. How many points is Duchene at right now? Somebody find
He's
it
above
out.
10. He's above 10.
He's at 10 in 13 games. So stop talking about last year. 41, they were awful. He's at 10
Do you see,
in 13.
Alex? Did
If
you
he
see
doesn't-
where the Avalanche ended last season?
Do you think he'll
Okay.
finish with over 50 points, Alex?
Yeah, I think you will.
I put money on
60?
it. If he's
let's
playing
let's bet on it. We'll put it on the air so that everyone knows. 60 points.
60
We'll shake
points.
on it. 60 points.
buying a McChicken.
Well, yeah, Toonie. 60 points. There's no way that Duchene does not get 50 points in the next 7
Speaking of bets, I made a bet with my one roommate that Oli Mata wouldn't go over 50 points, and I think that bet's looking pretty good right now.
Yeah,
That was a good one.
He's lucky to get 50 minutes this year. I don't know why.
All right,
I don't know
Dan,
what
if you're
Dan
listening, good try, man.
All right, it is 7:02, meaning our time is up. Another good episode by me, Caleb, Alex, and Mark. We'll be back next week to talk about what's going on in the world of sports. This has been the Night Sports Show. Have a good night.